Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there and welcome. I am multitasking right now, believe it or not. I am attempting to do some computer stuff and welcoming you to Lynn Cullen Live, Friday edition, the 8th day of November. Chris Potter is in, well, we don't know if he's in the building since I bumped into him as he was leaving the building just moments ago, but he assured me he would be here. And of course, his credibility has taken yet another hit. He will be here. Here's a door. We hear a door. He is a-comin'. Is that Jess spitting out anything yet?
Not yet.
No, of course not.
Noises.
Making noise. We're trying. And, if that had been Potter, he would have been in by now. So, he's coming. Unacceptable.
What? Are we on right now?
Yes. And then I spend time apologizing for your absence and
Sorry, Mom.
explaining how you had assured me as we.
I went out and I came back up and then I came down here.
Yeah, and
All right. Well, you were just doing the weather and traffic, right? That's the first 5 minutes of every hour anyway.
now
on the
you
radio.
got this mixed up with.
An actual show. Good morning, Lynn.
It's going to be one of those days, huh? Okay, you. So let's get. We're live early. There's lots to talk about. Yeah. Do we want to start locally with the great cabinet that was unveiled?
Yes.
This really does look. If you were cynical, you would say, this is so ridiculously diverse.
It's almost conspicuous.
Yeah, it's almost conspicuous.
Yeah.
It's almost like they thought, well, now wait. Okay, this is good. We got women outnumbering men. We've got how many whites? We got 3 to 4 because you don't know whether the Hispanic is going to be called. And in fact, then you've got an Asian in Pittsburgh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I will confess.
2 African Americans and a pumpkin in a pear tree.
Yeah, I will confess. When I first saw this, I was reminded of Reagan administration Interior Secretary James Watt describing his inner circle as being a black woman, 2 Jews, and a cripple.
That's right.
That thought did flash through my mind for 1 second.
Who was he talking about with the cripple?
I can't
Let me think.
remember.
He was talking about the Reagan cabinet?
No, I think he was talking about his own, some kind of advisory commission he had or something like that.
And showing how diverse it was.
Well, I remember an editorial cartoon about that. Why do I remember a 30-year-old editorial cartoon? I don't know, but
there was James.
It was
Watt,
like a black woman, 2 Jews, and then it was James Watt with a hole in his foot that he'd shot.
Yeah, right. He was a character.
Yeah.
And he said a few other things too, and I don't think he lasted real long.
Yeah.
He was a character and a loose cannon.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, they don't make Republicans like that anymore. He was fun.
Yeah. He was good copy. Although they do make plenty of Republicans who make good copy.
Yeah,
that's for
good
sure.
copy.
That hasn't stopped.
Yeah, right.
But it's sort of an interesting. It's sort of an interesting panel. I mean, you've got people who are kind of, what you would consider
old
guard. A Guy Costa, who I think a lot of people when Peduto made Costa kind of the head of his campaign.
No, they said
primary.
that's it. We ain't for him. And I know people who listen to this very program said no city employee is going to be on the bandwagon. And I couldn't figure out what is the animus there to Guy Costa. Is it deserved? Is it where's it coming from?
It depends a lot on who you ask.
Okay, but so where's it coming
from? I mean, the guy ran public works for a lot of years. There were a lot of people who thought,
he had favorites.
He didn't.
What?
Yeah, he didn't do such a bang up job on some occasions, and
I think that's true.
I think that's, and Bill was asked about that yesterday. The mayor-elect was asked about Costa specifically, and also Valerie McDonald Roberts, who of course is a former city councilor. And what he said was, the question was kind of you're billing yourself as this new sheriff in town, but you've got some pretty old hands there. And what he said was,
you have to have institutional memory.
I need some people who've kind of walked down these paths before, and
who know how it works and how. Well, that is true.
Yeah, that is a fair thing to say, and I would be somewhat dubious, honestly, about an administration that came in and had nobody with no experience whatsoever, because then you just run into all kinds of trouble as well. Now, does that necessarily make Guy Costa the guy that I would choose for, to be that member?
What I'm also confused about is I don't even understand these titles. So, I don't know what these people are doing. And it seems like, do we need somebody for all these? It's like, I don't know. Has he created already a top-heavy kind of a situation in his office? Well, is this a bigger cabinet, I guess, is what I'm saying? Yeah. Yes, then... Yeah, although one thing we were assured is that the overall cost won't be any different. So, I think some of these positions, are a little amorphous. One question I had is the OMI, which is the Office of Municipal Investigations, which looks into police misconduct in particular, got moved to Debbie Lestitians. She's going to be sort of the administrative person with control over personnel, whereas Ethics Board is under the control of the legal officer, Lourdes Sanchez Ridge. I don't quite understand some of those divisions. Valerie McDonald Roberts' position is a sort of Chief Urban Affairs Officer, which is I thought what the mayor was. Yeah, what is that? I don't understand.
If you're the mayor, aren't you the Chief Urban Affairs Officer? But I think generally what it boils down to, I think, is she's going to be working with a lot of typically black neighborhoods that have been underserved. So you can see that this is smart politics for sure. For sure. The question is whether it makes for smart policy and smart administration, and we just won't know that until we see how it works. But yeah, you should. He had they had a press conference about this yesterday, and it was just Bill Peduto and Kevin Acklin as chief of staff, and they had this table of organization, which was it looked like I-Corps or something with various battalions and divisions and everything. Those things are always complicated, but it'll be interesting to see how it works out. You could see some places where it was kind of like, well, do you need these two people? They both kind of seem like they overlap a little bit.
Yeah. But, we'll find out.
We will certainly find out. One thing that he was very insistent on yesterday, Mr. Peduto, was there will be regular meetings amongst all of these folks, so you won't have the kind of political fiefdoms, supposedly, where people aren't talking to each other and they're sort of working at cross purposes.
Yeah, but what I want to know, will Valerie still be able to be on 4802 with me?
I don't know. Well, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. By the way, there isn't any show tonight.
Oh, is that right? Okay, thanks for getting it.
No. You know why? Because Bill Peduto is going to get the whole half hour to himself.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah. Well. And I get the night off. I'm really happy about that. Okay, so the proof will be in the pudding. But everybody does say that the one person we do know is just crackerjack smart and capable is the mayor's right-hand man, Kevin Acklin.
Yeah.
People
who's
seem
also a funny guy, by the way.
People seem to think that he's like can do no wrong.
Yeah, well, they do now. Let's see.
Well, I know, but of course he can't be.
He's a very likable, person, and he's a hardworking guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy to have along there.
And he took a big pay cut, buddies. So this is like a true public servant in that he's taking time out. No?
Yeah, no, it is.
And he's got little kids at home.
Yeah.
When you're supposed, you want to be making money. He's a lawyer with a firm, a big firm, right?
Yeah. I will say this is one of the funnier moments of this press conference yesterday. Is the question came, well, what are all these people getting paid? And most of them are getting paid about $102,000.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, well, what about the chief of staff? And Kevin Acklin gets up there and he goes, I'll be making $250,000. No. He's making like 107.
Yeah, a
so.
little bit more. Okay. Well, we'll see. But I do have to admit, I laughed when I saw this.
Just
and that Watt thing is exactly.
It's almost a little conspicuous.
And can you see? I can see a lot of Republicans like opening their paper and seeing this and thinking, "Oh, those damn Democrats."
Why they got to? I mean,
because of the diversity.
Sanchez Ridge is a Republican.
Sanchez is a Republican. She's from
a Republican.
Cuba. She's not a crazy.
She lives in Upper St. Clair now, so that's about as far away from Cuba as you can get, I suppose. And of course, Acklin himself ran as a Republican for mayor.
He's not a Republican.
Yeah. She'll have to move back into town. Valerie McDonald Roberts will also have to move back into town.
Where is she living?
She'd been living, I think, in Churchill, one of the eastern suburbs. So she'll have to.
Oh, she's got to move.
Come back. Yeah, this is another joke. As you know, Peduto had pledged to bring 20,000 people back into Pittsburgh. That was one of his goals. So he's got to start. He's got like three to start with. Yeah, two or three. I think. Okay. I think Lamb may also not be from living in the city.
Okay. Well, we shall see then. Anything else on the election? Nothing surprising, nothing major. Nothing.
I mean, surprising was the margin of victory for Deb Gross in District 7. I knew she was going to win. I didn't think it was going to be quite the whooping that she put on. It'll be interesting too. I mean, obviously the other big landslide was in favor of the residency requirement for police officers.
Right, that was interesting.
And that will be interesting because that's one of these, that's a thing that Peduto, has said all along that he's willing to use that as a bargaining chip to get some other concessions from the police on if he can. And, I asked him straight up, do you think, does the fact that so many voters seem to favor holding on to this residency requirement change your feeling about using it as a bargaining chip?
Exactly.
And the answer was no.
Huh. All right. Ray writes, he's the one that was so apoplectic about the possibility of Chiaffi winning, and you just said Chiaffi got really clobbered.
Yeah.
He says, woo-hoo, and inside local Democratic circles in Lawrenceville, the party is disenchanted with the judge. That's his father, right? Too.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And yes, he voted for less.
Good for him. Good. I'm glad to hear those advertisements on the Cullen show paid off.
He got he got almost 2,000 votes, I think.
Yeah, we were sort of hoping he'd beat Josh Wander just because
he wasn't far behind Wander.
Wander had like 5,000 votes, which is about the most dismal showing for a Republican in Pittsburgh history, which is saying something.
God.
Even the Tribune Review endorsed Bill Peduto over the Republican.
Yeah, no, you can't. And the Republican, I said this yesterday. Chris Christie said to the Republicans the other day, guys, if you want to win, you got to show up in places that aren't comfortable. You got to show up in places where you got to start working at it. And the Republican Party here just doesn't bother.
Yeah, they don't. They don't at all. I mean, it was a fairly dismal display. And you can go back and, you could ask Kevin Acklin when he ran as a Republican in 2009 how much support he got from the party.
None.
Wasn't there. It wasn't there for him.
And he was a legitimate candidate.
That's the part that cracks me up as you read, every time this comes up, Jim Roddy's got to get quoted or send a letter or an op-ed piece, It's those stupid Democratic voters in the city. Why don't, and it's your fault, pal. You're the head of the Republican Party in Allegheny County. You're supposed to do some party building, and it never happens.
Exactly.
The high point for me was we got an email, a press release on Monday from Bob Hillen, who chairs the Republican Party in the city and who I quite like as a person. And it said, Josh Wander will be in town to vote tomorrow. Wow. Thanks for taking a day out of your busy schedule to run for mayor, Mr. Wander. We really appreciate it. It really shows.
Unbelievable. Chris writes, one story I always remember about James Watt, he was the Interior Secretary under Reagan, was that he didn't want the Beach Boys. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's what I wanted. He didn't want the Beach Boys to play at the 4th of July celebration in Washington, D.C., because he thought they weren't wholesome enough. He labeled them as drug users and said they weren't family safe. I was in high school back then and thought, even as a teenager, how ridiculous that was.
Yeah. You wonder who you would have picked, you know? Lawrence Welk, we know what slime he was.
Yeah! Yeah! With his champagne bubbles in his wandering hands.
Sinatra?
Yeah, Sinatra. Yeah. Snorting already. Okay, so there's one other little item that I think was underreported that I really loved, that has to do with the election on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But there were elections held all over the country, local elections. There was a little town in Iowa. We mentioned this on the show. I don't know if you were on when we did. Called Coralville. It's all of 20-some thousand people in Iowa. And taxes had been raised there relatively recently, I guess. And believe it or not, all the way back in New York City, the Koch brothers. I guess they're like the Princess and the Pea. If taxes get raised in Coralville, Iowa, the Koch brothers startled awake in their sleep. They know it somehow has happened, right? So they and their apparatus go into Coralville with all their money and start up what they do, advertising and all this, and trying to defeat all of these people who were incumbents running for re-election who had dared to raise taxes. Well, amazingly, and this is in the tax raising was not popular. The people in the town were so put out by the Koch brothers coming in and trying to influence what they and their neighbors were going to do in the election, that the Koch brothers inadvertently created a landslide victory for the very people they were attempting to unseat.
Yeah, you can't.
But it does work for them in some places. Somehow this little community said, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you can't tell people. I mean, these are folks in the Midwest, right? They have for decades been fed a steady diet of resentment for rich East Coast interests and New York elites and all this other kind of stuff. So you can't then show up and try to throw your money and your weight around and not expect that to be to bite back on you. But this is, I got a kick out of this.
They were all over the races, like in Wisconsin. I mean, it didn't have the same blowback there. Probably but this is a small town thing, and small town politics like this, the local network is much stronger. Look, when we see an ad for a statewide race, you have no idea. I mean, Pat Toomey or Bob Casey, you don't necessarily feel the same kind of connection to those guys that you do to the guy who
you knew down the street or whatever. Exactly.
Right.
I do have to wonder why. I mean, Iowa's a couple thousand miles from the ocean. Why does the town name Coralville?
Well, because
there must have been some coral.
Geologically speaking, it could be that there was a great inland sea there at one point.
And they keep turning up coral reefs from it?
Well, I don't know.
Or there was a guy was founded by Jebediah Coral or something like that.
And Jebediah and his lovely wife, Coral.
Oh, yes, that's actually better, yeah.
And he named it Coralville because her dad always said he wouldn't amount to anything. And he just wanted to put it on the map.
There you go. I think we've now the alternate history of Coralville. But you know what? I will say this too. This is something Pittsburgh. I mean, one of the things that's supposed to happen is Pittsburgh's going to revisit its campaign finance ordinance sometime next year because the legacy of this mayoral thing was that the limits got thrown out. there is nothing in the ordinance as currently written that talks about third-party
Koch brother type
Koch
things.
brother, those 529s
Yeah.
or whatever they are coming in and
Yeah.
spending a lot of money. And, I was talking about this like 6 months ago and people just sort of laughed at me or whatever. But you can see, if the Koch brothers are going to take an interest in Coralville, Iowa, what's to stop somebody from taking interest in a much larger city?
Oh,
like
yeah.
this one?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Come on, bring it on. I want those Koch brothers to come to town. I do.
Oh, God, don't. Not even a joke. Hey, as long as they spend money on newspaper ads.
When I was in Green Bay recently, I was driving down by the river where the industrial, like here,
Yeah.
river, industrial, blah, blah, blah. Although some of those mills in Wisconsin are still up. And they're Koch industries now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't used to be Koch industries.
Yeah.
What do? They have a million different things.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
it's like, I think this is the largest privately owned company in America.
Good God.
I do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah. They do all kinds of stuff, including attempting to take over the government or the people's voice in the government. And the Supreme Court really is on their side because they feel that the Koch brothers, because they're rather shy, actually, in person and have difficulty expressing themselves and talking, that it's like a disability. They have to talk with their money.
Yeah.
And to discriminate against rich people who are
The last acceptable prejudice.
who are inarticulate verbally and instead need to express themselves. They're dying to express themselves. And so,
Money equals speech.
money equals words.
Yeah.
And why would you even think they don't? What
Yeah.
a silly idea.
Yeah.
Money equals words. Black is white. War is peace. The sun rises in the west.
We have always been at war with East Asia.
And that's right, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right, well, yes, the time has come upon us.
Right. We do some Orwell, and then we go into the commercials.
That is correct. We do. And after these messages designed to play in your head and influence your behavior, you return to us. Okay? And we'll just talk.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Shop at 10,000 Villages for gifts that give twice. Give to your loved one and give an artisan a life of dignity and hope. 10,000 Villages is a fair trade retailer creating long-term relationships with artisans to ensure sustainable practices, empowerment for women, and economic opportunity in developing countries. With products from artisans in 38 countries, you'll be sure to find unique handicrafts for everyone on your list. A hand-loomed silk scarf for mom, a planter for your aunt, and a hand-carved chess set for dad. Each gift carries its own story. Shop at 10,000 Villages' annual bag sale on November 9th, and everything you can fit into one of their shopping bags is 20% off. Doors will open at 10 o'clock, so arrive early for the best selection. Children are always welcome. 10,000 Villages is located at 5824 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill or online at 10,000villages.com.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the free and fun app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and to be registered to win tickets to Pittsburgh versus New York at Consol Energy Center on November 22nd. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Just in time for the holidays, Little's Shoes is your UGG headquarters. Little's has the largest selection of UGGs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. Don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. All available at Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store. Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill or littleshoes.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Why, you think some guys do get paid? Well, yeah, you should.
I don't know.
Oh, excuse us. Are we back? I'm sorry, we were dissing management. So.
Yeah.
All right. House Speaker John Boehner said he is totally opposed to this bill the Senate passed yesterday with bipartisan support, which would, of course, protect gays and transgendered and bi and all that kind of whatever in the workplace. And how do you take a stand against a bill that protects people's ability? It's just
you cite what you do is what Toomey tried to do and cite a religious thing and say you're infringing on the rights of.
But Toomey ended up voting for it.
He did end up voting for it. Yes.
Most surprisingly, I thought. Okay, so everybody's saying yay, yay, yay. They did that in the Senate, but the fact is the House is probably not. Boehner's not even going to let it come to a vote, so that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So they just it continues. It continues.
Yep. And
unbelievable.
I mean, all you can do is take maximum political advantage of that and use it to drub them with in 2014. So
it's sure a great way to get gay people to maybe vote for you.
Yeah. Although, I mean, if Boehner doesn't bring it up, doesn't allow it to come to the floor, then you never really get these legislators on the record voting for it. So,
the Republicans would not even allow a vote. That's what you say.
Yeah. Yeah, you say that, but these guys are very good. I've been writing about this at some length, probably to the boredom of my audience, how good these guys are at sort of distancing themselves from their own party. I had a piece in this week about, I don't know if you saw it, but our boy Keith Rothfuss wrote a Post-Gazette op-ed piece about this.
I saw it, but I couldn't get myself to read it.
Yeah, it was. Right? I mean, it was great because it was basically like he took a bill which like 413 members, like maybe like 18 people in the entire Congress voted against it, and he wrote this op-ed piece. And it's just like, why would you write an op-ed piece about a bill that was completely uncontroversial? And basically, it had to do with tweaking the way the Army Corps of Engineers prioritizes river lock and dam projects and ports and stuff.
Oh, no wonder I didn't read it. It's like one of those subjects, first of all, that you look at and you think.
Right, exactly. It's boring, but it allows him to pretend like now he's Mr. Bipartisan Champion of river navigation just weeks after he voted to basically suspend many of the operations at the very Army Corps of Engineers, who he's suddenly trumpeting. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just absolutely hilarious. So they're very good at sort of portraying themselves, and this is the big problem, right? People hate Congress, but they think their own congressman is doing a decent enough job. Little realizing that people in the next district next door think their congressman is the asshole, right?
That's right.
So it's very subtle.
Okay, so I don't often watch 60 Minutes, but for some reason I was watching it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you see the famous Benghazi report?
Yes,
then?
I did.
I did not. So I've heard much about it since then.
You know what? I saw it. This is a report that Lara Logan did on Benghazi, and it was as if it were written by the most strident Republican in the Congress.
Right.
It was that Benghazi was an outrage, and the government, did not come to the aid of its own people there, and on and on and on. And as I was watching, I was thinking, I felt like there was some kind of like disconnect going on, because I thought, first of all, wasn't this done? I mean, hasn't Benghazi been
a thing now?
Investigated over and over and over and over and over again?
Yes.
And then here was 60 Minutes, like, doing their little thing. And they were interviewing this guy, and he was a Brit. And he was talking about how, man, he was making himself into some serious hero.
Yeah, I heard he was like...
He, at one point, and so, in the midst of the attack I ran through
I scaled
the
a
town.
12-foot wall.
I scaled the wall. I came down. There was a guy, and he was looking at me menacingly. I took my rifle butt and put it right through his face, and on I went, and this and that, and I blah, blah, blah. He singled because Barack Obama was playing golf or something, and it was the most. Anyway, I was stunned by it, but I thought, wow.
Now, did you find yourself believing maybe there's more to this than I thought when you watched it?
Because when you watch something like that
on 60 Minutes, a respected news magazine,
60 Minutes, I thought I thought, wait a minute. They are thorough. They do, they
hundreds of interviews, we were told. Dozens and dozens and dozens.
Been working on this for a year. And then, understandably, the next day, Republicans were banging the drums and saying, did you see that? And blah, blah, blah. And others were crying foul. And Laura Logan was standing by her rifle butt face smashing, interview. And it was really all week back and forth. CBS was standing behind Laura. Yep. They were going to the mat.
Yep.
Oh, oops. Headline today: CBS correspondent apologizes for report on Benghazi.
I hadn't actually heard this, so this must have just been posted today, this morning.
They are backpedaling so fast they can't see. Their heads are swimming. They are saying that for 60 Minutes, this is the biggest black eye ever, except for when, you may recall, Dan Rather did a report on George W. Bush getting sort of special treatment and not showing up in the National Guard during Vietnam.
The irony is all that was true.
That was true! But they still had to walk it back for some reason,
because there was a letter that was forged.
Oh, okay. There was something that was
the report. I don't think that it relied. It's been a few years. It didn't rely on that letter, but it did cite it as evidence.
Okay, so if you're going to watch 60 Minutes this Sunday, get ready for a very long apology, I think, at the beginning of the show. Yeah, and she now says it was a mistake to put the rifle butts face smashing guy on, whose credibility whose credibility she was lauding to the skies up until this morning.
Yeah.
She now says his credibility has been undermined by, in fact, the good reporting of other journalists in the Washington Post and others at the New York Times who said, hey, over here, 60 Minutes, check this out. Here's what he said in his report to the government. Here is what, and he has a big book coming out. Oh, yeah, and guess who's publishing that book?
A conservative imprint owned by
CBS!
Yeah.
Did you know CBS had a conservative publishing arm that publishes Glenn Beck and some of the more horrific, who's that guy named Levin? And I mean, really, really right-wing types.
This is your liberal media
This
work.
is liberal CBS. I know. We do know this. Okay. And no, this is heads will roll, and maybe even her beautiful little head should roll too.
She'll get a job at Fox, though.
Oh, would she ever?
They'll snap her up. She's Plus, she's got that accent, which gives her a certain
sex appeal
heft that they don't have over there at Fox right now.
So anyway, this guy told her one thing. He told the FBI something else. He's got a book coming out. CBS stands to make money off of this book. Then they're
they'll have to pull it.
Well, guess what? The publisher has already said we are. Yeah. Publication date unclear now. We're going to look into this. So there goes his book will be blown up. But will this stop any of the people who jumped on?
None of the other things that turned out to BS have stopped them. So, that party, the Republican Party, is utterly committed to this as a thing, which, again, I don't understand. Your saintly Ronald Reagan presided over the death of 240-plus Marines.
Tell me about it.
In Beirut.
Yeah.
And you're talking about 4 guys, and not even. I mean, half of this scandal, right, is about like what press release got sent out a week later, right? I mean, that's where this all is.
Did they call it? No, initially the whole big thing was the White House didn't call it a terrorist.
Yeah, that was the great moment in the Romney campaign.
Yeah,
please proceed, Governor.
That's right.
I mean, it's just, so it's not going to make a difference. What is it that Mark Twain said? A lie can run around the earth twice while the truth is still putting its shoes on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just never going to catch up to the initial.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of scurrying around going on over at CBS and 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, you lay down with the flea, or you lay down with the dogs, you get fleas, right?
That's right.
I mean, you knew this story. You had every reason in the world to think that this story was. She was talking. Logan was talking a few days ago. We wanted to keep politics out of this. Da 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 da. And it's just like, you know what? At this point, not sure it's even possible.
No, and she got played.
She absolutely seems to have gotten played.
But then they've got all these levels there. They've got producers on producers on producers. They all got played.
Yeah. Well, I've, as you know, Lynn, I've been a fan of hers. She did some good reporting from Afghanistan and so on and so forth. But, she's got to go. You can't fire Dan Rather and shut down. Because remember, he reported that on what was 60 Minutes 2, I think, was the program, sort of a franchise they were doing in the middle of the week. They shut down that whole program. That's not going to happen here because 60 Minutes itself is a brand, But I can't see how you fire him but keep her. She's got to go. And, she'll be fine. She'll pop up in 6 weeks on Fox News.
Yeah, but then they'll be down to, like, an all-male cast, except for
Leslie Stahl.
And who's...
There are other women reporters out there who can,
but
do
not
that job.
Not a babe like Laura.
Yeah, what I find so funny is you look at the guys on that program.
Oh God!
It really does sum up the double standard, right?
Oh,
it's just morally safer. Until he died, he might still be on, as far as I know. Didn't he die?
Well, it's the same way with Andy Rooney. They have these like lumping, these like they make the Muppet guys on the look like svelte guys with six packs. These are just molten, fleshy. God, and they don't have any. Everybody's white, right?
Yeah, they do have. I believe they have one correspondent.
Oh, I believe now they've added Sanjay Gupta, who provides a little, exotic quality. Screw them. I'm so sick of they've been coasting for a long time.
Yep.
To hell with them.
Yep.
And this is, good. All right. So, George W., who I was starting to get a little bit fond of ever since I saw the painting of his feet in the shower.
Yeah, it's too bad he missed his call in there.
Well, George, this is something that ain't going to play well with the Jews. George is keynoting a fundraiser in Irving, Texas, of the Messianic Jewish Bible Institute. And this is...
MJBI, as we call it, yeah.
Yes, the MJBI. And the MJBI's sole purpose is to convert people like me to see the light so that Jesus can come back. Do you understand that we're...
It depends on you? Yes! Oh, no!
You don't convert the Jews. You have to... No, you got to convert the Jews.
We're doomed.
Okay. So, and the Messianic Jewish Bible Institute, what they do, I assure you, anyone who says to you, I'm a Messianic Jew, that means they're a Christian. There's no such thing as a Messianic Jew. If a Jew decides that Jesus was the Messiah, they're Christians.
That's pretty much how we got Christians in the first place, as a general rule.
So, the Messianic Jewish Bible Institute is a group that trains people to convince those stubborn Jews to accept Jesus as the Messiah, because you've got to restore Israel and the Jews to think about the second, before you can have the second coming. Somebody said. So you got to get those stiff-necked. It's true.
Good.
This is one of the reasons Jews don't matter.
That's an Old Testament reference right there, right?
Oh, yeah, stiff-necked.
Moses. The stiff-necked,
stiff-necked Jews.
Very good.
Clinging to your primitive religion.
Yeah.
Failing to recognize a Messiah when he's standing right amidst you. Anyway, Senator, so all the Jews are going nuts. I mean, the head of the ADL says this is insensitive and offensive. The head of the largest Reform Jewish organizations tweeted just this morning, that he was disgusted. Why
are these guys surprised? Do they not think, like, what do they think all of these, like, Christians who are so concerned about the fate of Israel, like, what their motivation is?
Well, I know that's true. That's true.
I mean, what?
No, but George W. was a little more. Anyway, this whole thing is to raise money to proselytize, and they go after Jews. This is why you see Jews for Jesus go over to Squirrel Hill.
That's a different thing, though, right? It's a different group.
It's the same
idea, but different group.
And apparently there's a lot of these groups. Rick Santorum.
Naturally.
Appeared at another, the Messianic Jewish Alliance.
The MJA.
Yeah.
The People's Front of Judea.
And here's
the Judeans, the People's Front.
And then, there's this, high-toned neocon commentary magazine.
Yes, yeah,
Uh-huh. It's conservative, it's Jewish, it's it.
Can I just ask, this is obviously a story you've got here, which I haven't read. You said they train people to do this. Like, what does that training, like, consist of? Like, I would sort of like to know, like, have you been proselytized this way? Like, what kind of, like, tricks do they use on you? Is it, like, bacon tastes great? Like what are they like? Is it totally like a scriptural thing where they're just like, the prophet?
Oh no! If you go to their website, you find out how they grab you. They have like all kinds of tutorials about how Jesus is obvious even in the Old Testament, and how they just try to they have a shtick.
Well, of course, he's obvious in the Old Testament. The Christians picked the books in the Old Testament to bear out. Right? I mean, you could have chosen a lot of other texts to include in the Old Testament. They chose the ones and they organized them in such a way to make it look like it was building towards...
Okay, here's what they do. They act like the Apostle Paul.
So tense together and...
in helping, get this, to educate Christians in their role to provoke the Jewish people.
Again, I just think bacon. Like, is that
save some of them? It has Bible schools in 12 countries, an online school of Messianic theology, and programs to train Messianic rabbis. Get me. It's
Wait,
logos.
To provoke them how, though? What does that mean?
I don't know what it means. I'll tell you.
Still waiting for your Messiah, are you?
No, they provoke.
We already got ours. Don't be the last on your block.
Its logos feature a Star of David and a menorah, and its website promotes the weekly Torah portion. And they also have a Yiddish Mama's Kitchen.
What?
And links to books such as Christ in the Old Testament. Bush, the group says in there, saying that Bush is coming to this November event.
Bush is coming.
Bush will share his passion for setting people free. So now he set the Iraqis free.
Let's hope he does a similarly bang-up job when he appears
because
before
of the Jews. So George W. is trying to set the Jews free, like Moses before him.
Well, this wouldn't be the first time that the Jews have taken their counsel from a bush.
Oh my God!
Thank you. just sat there and just let the silence just play itself out.
Listen,
Oh, man.
He must really be desperate for gigs.
Is that? I don't know. Well, you know who they had like last year?
No.
Glenn Beck.
A Mormon.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm holding up. Personally, it's like, senators can hold things up. One senator can hold it all up.
Lynn Cullen is filibustering the rapture.
I am. This is the Jew. This is the stiff-necked Jew who's going to stand between you and that second coming you're all waiting for.
Right. Actually, so you're kind of the, I mean, no offense intended here, but sort of the whore of Babylon. All you need is like the beast with the, the 7 heads and the 10 crowns and whatnot. And yeah.
Oh my God. Jesus. Yes.
And you're wearing scarlet today.
All right. Ray writes, ha, 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 ha. George Torquemada Bush. What an asshole. He's just clueless. And Ray also writes about the Koch brothers. I don't think the Republicans have changed that much since Reagan. It's that between the awful Tea Party and Koch brothers and Fox News, they have lost all subtlety to their ubiquitous evil. It has become now vulgar and common.
Yeah,
there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, and I think there's also sort of a rhetorical arms race that they all have to up each other.
Yeah.
For the sake of their own little bubble world, because they're really about impressing each other rather than the broader society, and that's why we get this craziness. So,
well said, Mr. Potter.
Thank you.
All right, we need to take a little break. And during it, Chris Potter, a representative of the Christians, will attempt to get through to me. Okay?
I've got a clover here, so I'm ready to explain the Trinity.
All right, fine. We'll be
Stick
back.
around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Go to the all-new bergbargains.com for the best deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. Log on now for half-off admission to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Monticello's, and City Theater tickets. The all-new bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains, bergbargains.com.
Download the CP Haps app to find out what's happening in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text EVENTS to 77948 to download now. Available on the App Store and Google Play. Brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper. Shop at 10,000 Villages for gifts that give twice. Give to your loved one and give an artisan a life of dignity and hope. 10,000 Villages is a fair trade retailer creating long-term relationships with artisans to ensure sustainable practices, empowerment for women, and economic opportunity in developing countries. With products from artisans in 38 countries, you'll be sure to find unique handicrafts for everyone on your list. A hand-loomed silk scarf for mom, a planter for your aunt, and a hand-carved chess set for dad. Each gift carries its own story. Shop at 10,000 Villages' annual bag sale on November 9th, and everything you can fit into one of their shopping bags is 20% off. Doors will open at 10 o'clock, so arrive early for the best selection. Children are always welcome. 10,000 Villages is located at 5824 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill, or online at 10,000villages.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen live.
Well, we must report a failure on the part of Mr. Potter.
She had me at the virgin birth.
But Potter was saying he thinks that these Christians should go after the Muslims.
I mean, I just think in terms of
but it doesn't do what the recipe.
Yeah,
it's the Jews. You got to take a bunch of Jews, and you can't have.
I guess that's the thing, right?
You can't have. Where's
the
that?
Muslims will all perish in the lake of eternal fire. So that's.
I guess I don't know. Where's the
Again, though, when George Bush tried to free them, he was trying to do them a favor. I realize it's a little hard to follow the political ins and outs of all this, but trust me, he has everybody's best interests at heart.
Oh, my God, my God. Okay, yeah.
Well, that's just the problem, isn't it, Lynn?
Yes. It is. Would you like to define that God that you're muttering to? Oh, Lord in heaven. I'm sorry. I think I'm done.
I was like, there was a moment where it was like you were kind of like going through your thing and you put aside your last clipping and I was like,
I know.
We're screwed. I don't know.
I got stuff.
Okay. All right. Okay, here we go.
Here, we got a whole newspaper here.
Just pick something at random, Lynn Cullen.
Okay. No, I'm not into that. Did you buy any Twitter stock yesterday?
No.
Do you have anything to say about Mr. Incognito?
You know, it's really funny. I have no idea what's going on with that story.
Okay.
Like somebody was talking about it yesterday, and I just sometimes it's just like this is what comes of like I think not really following sports much, and also not having cable. I really don't know. Sometimes these big stories come along, and I'm like, what is that?
Well, you know something about it now, don't you? Okay, you got this guy.
Yeah.
Beefy white guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And
wait, is his last name seriously Incognito?
It sure as hell is, and he sure as hell ain't anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He ain't Incognito. He's flying above the radar now. He is an offensive, in more ways than one, lineman.
Got it.
For the county.
For Miami Dolphins.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah. I just said, where did that come from, lineman for the county? Oh, that Greg Campbell song.
Right.
Okay, offensive lineman. And for the Dolphins, and the guy who stands right next to him, another offensive lineman, is a guy named Raymond. No, Jonathan Martin.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan Martin. And he's black.
Yep.
And he's a 2-year player. He's just almost a little more than a rookie.
Okay.
And this guy apparently has been subjecting him to unbelievable racial. The papers won't write what he's saying, but I've heard some of it, and it's so over the top. You cannot even believe it. Uses the N-word liberally, talks about killing him and his family, talks about having a bowel movement in his mouth, lovely things like that. I mean, it's just beyond belief.
How is this going on? Like, this is happening, like, in the locker room, like, during the game?
I guess he wants this. There's a lot of layers on this one, actually. So this is and a lot of football players and others are saying, hey, man, it's a locker room. This is like normal. You know, these guys are rough, they're tough, they're this, they're that. And there's a culture here, and there's another culture here, and they have butted heads. But the fact is, a locker room is a place of employment.
Yes.
And that kind of racial intimidation, plus, all of the intimidation, threats to one's life and the life of their family, that's criminal stuff.
Well, I'm sorry. I realize
wait.
all your audience already knows all this, and I'm sorry to be this stupid
He wants this guy. He doesn't think he's manning up. He doesn't. This is how you make a man out of him. You say, you little.
Well, why? So he's in a locker room, and I'm assuming this guy that he's bullying and harassing or whatever isn't the only black guy in the Miami Dolphins locker room, right? I mean, like, what?
I don't know.
This seems incredibly stupid to me.
I don't.
In addition to being bigoted and everything else, it just seems like.
Here's the other thing that I think is there's a lot of racial stuff going on here, and the part of it is what I heard somebody the other day say. If you took this guy, Incognito.
Yeah.
And you took his bio.
Yeah.
And then you took his victim's bio, the black guy, Jonathan Martin, and you said to people, okay, here's this bio, here's that bio. One of these guys is white, and one of these guys, they're both football players. One's white, one's black, which is which? Every single person reverses it.
Why?
Because the black guy is his parents and his grandparents graduated from Harvard. He went to prep school. Then he went to Stanford.
Got it. Okay.
He is an elite person. This guy is a thug.
Yeah. This Incognito guy. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot of layers here, and it's about hazing, and it's about, what, I don't know. But it also says something again about football, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Sokolowski says, I was once dragged into a so-called mitzvah mobile.
What?
Mitzvah mobile!
Mitzvah mobile by the Jews for Jesus, which was parked in front of the New York Public Library on 42nd Street. They grabbed you? You're not even a Jew! It was a surreal experience, complete with a neon-encrusted Torah mix. Oh, come on! And plates of gefilte fish and Hamantaschen. Don't even ask. Even though it was not Purim, it was almost as good as going
to CBGB.
CBGB, except the rock was replaced by klezmer music. Okay, now wait a minute. What do you guys think? Okay. So by the way, mitzvah mobile. They have a mitzvah mobile they drag you into?
Mitzvah mobile.
Oh, jeez. That's akin to these people who have been abducted by aliens, right?
Mitzvah mobile.
Oh, God. All right, okay.
What do you think about it? A kidnapping is really just sort of an extended bar mitzvah. Congratulations. You're an abductee.
Who did I hear?
Mazel tov.
Listen to this. Speaking of bar mitzvahs. Do you know who was bat mitzvahed the other day in Israel? I think in Israel. She'd wanted to do it at the Western Wall, and I think was dissuaded. Thank God. And
Jenna Bush. No, who?
Paula Abdul.
Really?
First of all, with a name like Abdul, don't you think she's Arab?
Yeah.
Abdul al-Hassan. That's an Arab name.
Yeah.
Turns out she's Jewish? Paula Abdul? I think she converted, and now at her advanced age, she wanted to be bat mitzvahed. Spare us. We've got...
What?
No, I'm sorry, spare
Why
us.
shouldn't you welcome a convert?
Come on, you got what's her name? Madonna, all of a sudden becoming a Jewish mystic. This is bull. Bull and more bull.
Well, yeah, obviously. Being Jewish is hip. It's trendy.
It is. Laura says she's learning so much on the show today. Oh, I don't know, Laura.
Stop listening now, Laura.
And she thinks you're in rare form. All right, here we got something on George W.
Bush.
Here. Is Josh Wander prepping for George Bush? Oh, there you have it. See, now there you have Josh Wander. He'd be like fertile territory for the Jews for Jesus, you would think, because he's a prepper. Yeah. Oh man, I don't know.
What is?
I call him the wandering Jew.
Yeah, we've all called him the wandering Jew.
How can you not call him a wandering Jew? Ay vey. Okay, so I don't want to talk to you about this anymore because you're asking too many questions I can't answer.
I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, it just seems like somebody should get shoved into a locker at some point here. I mean, I thought that was part of the culture of the NFL, too. Like, if you just pulled that kind of crap, somebody would...
Well, like a lot of people are saying, rather than, cry about it, the Stanford, the uppity, overeducated black guy was a crybaby because he, I'm leaving. And he should have just, hauled off and smashed this other jerk in the face. And... man, he would have had some serious respect then.
Was that what Incognito said?
No.
He should have beat the crap out of me. That's what this is all about. Just another reason to stop.
Who knows? Stop watching football.
Yeah.
It is.
Like this thing about Tony Dorsett.
Oh, isn't that sad?
Sad, but there's just going to be more and more of these stories.
More. Now, Tony Dorsett, who, he's a running back, and granted, he took hits, but not as much as these linemen. Yeah. All of the linemen are going to be like drooling by the age of 40 and not know where they are. Caller, hi.
Good morning, dear.
Hello.
Hey.
It's Tom Sokolowski.
Oh, I didn't even recognize your voice.
Oh, it's my mellifluous tones. No, I just wanted to add that the black guy actually either resigned or stepped away from the team, so he's no longer even on the team anymore.
Jesus.
Oh, he really just left? He said,
he left.
I'm taking my helmet and leave.
There was a piece, I think it was in the Post-Gazette yesterday, I remember the Times, but he talked about the fact, because it seems that this hazing business is extremely prevalent in the professional sports. And they mentioned sort of cute things like sending one of the younger players to, KFC, pick up 700 buckets of chicken, and then, making them pay for it.
Yeah.
But that this writer, I think it was the Post-Gazette, they talked about the fact that it really is left to the coaches, and that, for example, at the Steelers, although they allow for, some towel smacking in terms of in the locker room, they never allow for, this sort of racist, really malevolent kind of hazing, violence, and what have you.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, given Rooney's...
So did you make that up about the mitzvah mobile?
No. Because you'd walk past, this was in the 70s, you'd walk past.
Well, why?
I guess people always tell me I pass as a Jew, but these guys, but they look like total Hasidim, but they were these Jews for Jesus, and they say, "Are you Jewish?" And then they pull you into the mitzvah mobile, and it really was this surreal thing, like, am I in Oz or am I in Kansas anymore? And it was interesting because that was just at the same time that the Buddhists would be coming up to you and saying, say this phrase, I'm holding it out. And so anywhere in the New York street you were being proselytized about.
So it was the same era as the Moonies and
Well, maybe you were just sort of a hot property, theologically speaking there, Tom. Maybe they just...
Well, I know. I mean, people always told me I'm a juicy morsel, so... I just wanted to add one thing. Lynn did read the second part of my email to you. What do you think of the wonderful, delicious, and noble Judge Orton Melvin given the sort of reprieve or letter of apology?
I think it actually makes some sense. I mean, because she is appealing her conviction, right? And if she starts writing apologies, then she's saying that's an admission that, and I don't think I should have been convicted. So all this judge has said, right, is, okay, we got to wait to see if the other court thinks you really were a felon. And
but the other side said that they had already put in whatever strictures that writing the letter was really about embarrassed her, obviously, and that would not be held as something that would be her admission of guilt, so to speak.
Okay, well...
I just think, look, I was against...
the whole thing
people wanted to see this woman do some serious time, and this whole thing of, like, I'm now going to make you write these letters, it's just a stunt. It's a stunt. Just make her do time. Make her do time. Well, the fact that this is going on, and remember, it wouldn't surprise me if this whole part of her sentence eventually gets tossed out anyway because it's ridiculous. And the whole thing was he gave her less in the way of the kinds of sentences the rest of us would get for this stupid stuff.
No, that's true.
And that's going to get thrown out, and so she's going to end up coming out ahead, which seems to be...
Oh, I don't think she is.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, just like I said, he had an array of sentencing options before him, and he could have given her more time, and instead he gave her this
I agree.
thing,
what he did was ridiculous.
It just, the whole thing is stupid. She should just do her time, and she should have been asked to do that.
I mean, she's such a shanta to the neighbors. We should bring back blogging, but anyway. All right, guys.
Bye.
Mr. Shabbos.
Yeah. Bye, Tom. Did he say good Shabbos?
I think he did, yeah. Guess what?
I know.
We're actually over.
We're actually over.
Good thing I didn't know about who that Incognito thing was.
All right, and I'll have to do more reading on it. I didn't even realize the other guy really just left. Well, if he's so smart with all his Harvard, parent stuff, he's smart, too smart to put himself in jeopardy. offensive linemen are the ones that really get their brains scrambled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I think that's it.
Have a good weekend.
Seriously, have a great weekend. You too, Mr. Potter.
I will try. Thanks.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.